Hello, welcome back to the part 2 of our Brachistochrone video. So in part 1, we used Bernoulli's Bernoulli's solution of the Brachistochrone problem, and we boiled it down to one condition. The condition is something like this. Okay, first maybe we should recall the problem a bit. The problem was particle was falling under gravity between 2 points A and B, and those are on two different vertical levels. It's not like B right at the bottom of A. It was falling something like this from A to B, and we had to find the least path, the path which takes the least amount of time. Okay. Now, in the previous video, we discussed how Bernoulli used Snell's law to find one condition about this path. The condition was something like this. A is here, B is here, and the point is falling like this. The particle is falling like this. The condition was take a point here, take the vertical, then take the tangent here. By tangent, I mean tangent to the path. If this angle is, say, theta, and this is the height by which the particle has fallen, then sine theta divided by root h has to be a constant throughout this path. Everywhere on the path, it should be the same value. We will show that there is one curve that satisfies this. We won't prove that this is the only curve that satisfies this. That can be done as well, but for that we will need calculus, differential equations and stuff. But we'll show that there is one curve actually, at least, which satisfies this, and that curve is very famous. It's called the cycloid. Now, I don't have an animation of the cycloid, so I will depend on your imagination. So suppose this is the ground and a wheel is moving on the ground at uniform speed. Track one point on the circumference of the wheel. In this case, suppose we track S. If we look at S and see where it goes as the wheel moves forward in uniform speed, without slipping, of course, then the path traced by this point S is going to be a cycloid. You can probably imagine it's going to be a path something like this. Something like this. Okay. This curve is also called a Tautochrone. We will discuss that later. So what Bernoulli showed that the path of this falling object is a cycloid such that the cusp of the cycloid is at A. What do I mean? I mean that a cycloid looks something like this. So it's a repeating curve, by the way. It goes like this. So this highest point is called the cusp. So the path which takes the least time is A somewhere here and maybe B here, something like that. Okay. Now, how to prove that? Suppose we have started from a point A here. Then the wheel has moved forward a bit. The point that we were tracking, remember, to see the cycloid, to find the equation of the cycloid or shape of the cycloid, we have to track a fixed point. So the point we were tracking has come here at the moment, P. And it has moved from this, the topmost position, to this position. So basically, when the wheel was here, P was at the top, and the top was at A. Now the wheel has moved forward, so P has moved from the topmost position to here. And The topmost position is now occupied by this point called S, and it should be clear to you that A and S should be at the same vertical level. Okay, so the height that P has fallen is nothing but this. Let's name the points. By the way, this is just a vertical. This is a diameter. Now, if I draw a perpendicular like this and call it say M, then the distance SM is basically H from here, the distance by which the point has fallen. Now we will note some other things. First of all, this motion, this rolling the wheel forward, instantaneously it is a rotation. This idea should be very familiar to those of you who have studied rotational mechanics. What's happening is, at this instant, this motion of P is a rotational motion about T with radius equal to Tp. So what I'm trying to say is, instantaneously P is doing a rotation about T. Okay. Because of that fact, if I take a 90 degree here to Tp, that should give me a tangent to the cycloid. In other words, the cycloid should look something like this. The cycloid is formed in such a way such that this Tp and the tangent to the cycloid at point P, they're at 90 degrees. This is a very well-known property of circular motion. This property is going to be useful here. So two things we have noted already. One is Sm is the height by which the particle has fallen, and this line 90 degree, the line that forms a 90 degrees with Tp, that line is actually the tangent line to the cycloid curve at the point P. So these 2 points we have noted. Also, one thing I haven't noticed, I haven't mentioned, but those of you who know circles, you should know that as St is supposed to be diameter and O is the center, of course, this thing STP is a right angle triangle and S is on the circle. These are all properties of circles and rotational motion, all that. Okay. So what's the next step? I will call this angle as, say, T. T is the angle by which the particle has moved so far from A. Because remember, when the particle was starting from A, P was at the topmost position, it was at S. Now it is here, so it has moved by this much angle. That means OM is equal to OP cos angle T, and OP is the radius of the circle. Let's call it R. R cos T. Therefore, H is SM, which is SO minus OM. So H is equal to SO minus OM, which is, as you can see, this is the radius of the circle. So it's R into 1 minus cos T, which is 2R sine square T by 2. Good. Now I will wipe this temporarily. Okay. Now some more geometry. As this angle is T, this angle is pi minus t. O is the center. Remember, the angle at the circumference is half the angle at the center. Here the angle at the center is pi minus t. Therefore, this is pi by 2 minus t by 2. Now, what is this line I have drawn here? It is basically the vertical, because remember, there was the condition was about the angle the curve is making with the vertical. So I have drawn the vertical, and the vertical is clearly parallel to the diameter. So you have two parallel lines and we have a transversal. So by the property of transversal, this angle here is also pi by 2 minus t by 2. And similarly, if I actually extend this vertical a bit like this, then the angle on the other side will be pi by 2 minus t by 2 as well. Now what is left to do? Note that sine square t by 2, actually from here, from the value of h we had derived before, we already have that sine t by 2 by root h is constant. You just take the square root and change sides. And this thing will also mean that cos t by 2 by root h is constant, because sine t by 2 and cos t by 2, they are related by a square relation, right? One square plus the other square is a constant. And the sine of this angle here is sine pi by 2 minus t by 2 is cos t by 2. Therefore, we have proven that sine of this angle divided by root h is a constant. So cycloid is a curve that satisfies this condition. So cycloid is at least one solution to this Brachistochrone problem. Now there's another interesting property, which is this cycloid thing. I mean, the Brachistochrone thing came later. The first problem that came was called a Tautochrone problem. What is the Tautochrone problem? So Brachistochrone means least time. Tautochrone means equal time. What does Tautochrone mean? You need to, some of you must have played around with pendulums, and you know pendulums are not perfect. If you give a small magnitude to the pendulum, to the oscillation, then it takes a certain amount of time to go back and forth. If you give a bigger amount of oscillations to the pendulum, then it takes a longer amount of time to go back and forth. Mathematicians asked, is there a curve which has the property that no matter what magnitude I give the curve and it starts oscillating, no matter what magnitude I give, it always takes the equal amount of time to go back and forth? What does it mean? The curve must have the property that if you give a bigger magnitude, it will move very fast, so it will make up the time. And if you give it a small magnitude, then it will move slow. So even if the distance to be covered is small, it's moving very slow, so the amount of time being taken is becoming more or less equal. So people had asked that, is there such a curve? The answer turns out to be yes, and that curve is just the reverse of this curve. So the Brachistochrone curve goes like this, the cycloid goes like this, and the Tautochrone curve is just the inverted cycloid. It goes like this. And if you slide a ball from here and it will oscillate under gravity, no matter what the magnitude of oscillation is, it always takes the same amount of time to go back and forth. So if you want a homework, you can try proving the tautochrone property of the inverted cycloid. So that would be all for today. Thank you.